They sought from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, fine for that. All right, everybody. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the, we're not good? No, I said thank you. It is not. We are here. We're live and live from Moab, Utah. On May 12th, 2026, the Moab Tourism Advisory Board. My name is Wendell Williams. I'm the chair. Let's go ahead and do introductions, starting on my left.
Lori McFarland, vice chair, and High Point Hummer and ATV.
Brian Martinez, Cook County Commissioner.
Allie Harford, Office of Tourism, Moab office.
Nick Saleta, Moab Office of Tourism.
What, director?
Director.
Alex Borshevsky, board member, owner 98 Center in Swakopmund.
Howard Tranholm, board member.
Cora Phillips, Moab Chamber of Commerce, board member. Alicia Beatty, board member, area sales and marketing manager, this time.
Right. Any conflicts of interest, disclosures, or ex parte communications from any of our board members present today or anybody in the meeting? All right. All right. Next on the agenda is citizens to be heard, and we have a citizen that nobody in this room knows. But Teresa, if you come up and introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like to be heard about. And
My name is Teresa King, and today my subject is Moab happenings. I'm sorry, this is going to probably sound like an advertisement, but I didn't intend to do it this way, but it's come to my attention that there is some question about whether the travel council can advertise with Moab happenings, that if it would meet the audit recommendations. And this has come to me from several different angles, and I've talked with a couple of different people. I do not want to reach out to Tina Cannon and get a confirmation from her, so I wanted to talk to you all first. Okay, I do publish another publication, which is totally local advertising for the most part, the Advertiser. Not talking about that today, talking about Moab happenings. It's been in publication for 38 years. It has the most comprehensive special event calendar in it for people to plan ahead for their trips. And of course, it is online. But also, for several years, I have distributed the physical paper in Salt Lake City and in Grand Junction, Palisade area. So almost a third of the physical paper is distributed out of the area, also including Green River and San Juan. So I do believe that it would qualify for advertising as far as being a appropriate medium for you. And so, like I said, I've had several conversations, some of them with you all, some of them not, and I wanted to just say my thing. If you have any other questions, you can always contact me outside of this meeting. But I really want to participate in getting people to the area from outside of the area. Thank you.
thank you. And I'm sure nobody knows how to reach you. So.
And the other is, I know you have the travel or the film commission giving a report, and I have started a series once a month in Moab Happenings about a film article. So I wanted to let you know that's been in there for the last 2 months with the film trail and another film. And so once a month, I've been working with Biga to have an article.
What's in this month?
Film in. This month, besides the film trail was the month before, and then this last month was featuring the disappearing Indian film, disappearing American, excuse me, disappearing American films. So I'm a writer that picks out a film each month and tries to, just promote film. That's what we're about. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Teresa.
You bet. Take care. I'll watch
And
online. Oh.
we have another board member joining us now. If you'd just like to say who you are for the record.
Rebecca Monza.
Thank you very much. Okay, on to the next items, and I would like to thank Mick and Ellie so much for, you get these agendas and you think it's just a piece of paper. There's a lot of work that goes on behind it. I've talked to Mick no more than 12 times today. So the work that they do behind the scenes to get this and so much together, and in getting Virginia Pierce here and Leslie and Madden. Just thank you for the work that you guys are doing behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about. So we really appreciate that. That being said, Mick was great in recommending and able to get Virginia Pierce to speak to us today from the Utah Film Commission. With that, I'll hand it over.
Sure. Thanks for joining. Virginia's online. I'll let her introduce herself. There have been some developments with the Rural Incentive Program. So the idea was just to update the board on changes to that tax incentive program, and so that we can start to think about how that might affect film in the future. And just review film in general in Grand County, and just connect with the Utah Film Commission on all the work that they do to send film production to Grand County as we think about this and for the 2027 budget season and sort of beyond. So with that, I'll hand it over to Virginia, who has a presentation are you gonna run the deck? Or do you want to?
For you, Virginia, can you?
Yeah, I'm happy to share if that's easier from here.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Okay. Let me just pull that. Okay, wait a minute. My only problem with that is, let's see here. I want to be able to see my notes too.
I don't mind sharing it, Virginia.
I think
then-
oops, because are you seeing just my screen or?
Yeah, we are. Why don't I share your presentation and then just, you can just say like next slide to me.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay,
I don't want to miss anything important.
I know.
Well, hi everyone. I don't know if I have met everyone, but I am Virginia Pierce. I'm the director of the Utah Film Commission. And I've been doing this job for almost 12 years. So I've seen lots of iterations of film in Utah, and obviously Grand County continues to just be a huge part of what we do here. The Office of the Utah Film Commission is a part of the Office of Tourism and the Governor's Office of Economic Development. So our role, which I think you can go to the first slide, our role is really about helping productions successfully film in Utah while maximizing impact for communities like Moab and Grand County. And, you know, I think it really starts at a place where when people think about the West around the world, there's a good chance they're thinking about the landscapes of Moab. And I know that you all know this, but it really comes through when you start to talk about people wanting to film in the West. It ends up wanting to be in your area. So I am going to talk mostly about the incentive program, kind of where we are, but I just wanted to give everyone a quick look at what we do. So we do a lot more than just the incentives on a daily basis. We promote Utah locations, crew, vendors. We support the crew growth. We work up with higher ed to, work on workforce and industry development. We help productions navigate permits, logistics, work with different agencies, really overall trying to make Utah competitive, not only through incentives, but just in the resources that we offer. You can go to the next slide. So the way that happens is that productions often will reach out to us first, and either that comes through usually our production manager, Derek Mellis, or we're working with a studio or with a specific filmmaker about projects that they may bring to Utah and kind of pitching Utah to them. But we'll help them determine, okay, first look at the script. What are you thinking? Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't. What kind of infrastructure they need? Are they thinking about, do they need a studio or do they want to shoot outside? Then from there, we'll connect them with local film offices and partners. So this is where BIGA really comes into play. And we have a film rep representative in every county. So we will work with them directly because obviously on the ground, you know more than we do, and those regional relationships are critical. I think productions succeed in Utah because the communities have really gotten to know how to work with film, and obviously, especially Grand County, because you guys have such a long history. Okay, go to the next slide. So we have 3 incentive programs. They're kind of helping productions of different sizes and needs. The rural incentive program is specifically the one that was developed 4 years ago and really helped drive production across the Wasatch Front. But we also have these other 2 programs, the Community Film Incentive Program, which is a cash program, which really doesn't mean anything else other than just the way that the money comes to filmmakers. The process is exactly the same. Um, and then our main motion picture incentive program we've had since 2011, and that has been that 6.79, very consistent. I think we've been able to do a lot with a very small amount of money. The rural film incentive for the last 4 years has been 12 million annually. During this past legislative session, the program was reduced to 3 million ongoing. So the ongoing piece is good because we did not have ongoing funding before. Obviously, a $9 million cut was not ideal. That means practically we are going to have to support fewer productions. Grand County still is one of our most desirable filming locations. Obviously, the landscape, your infrastructure, your resources there is still a huge advantage. It's just at the end of the day, it's math. I mean, at $3 million, we just can't support the number of projects that we used to. And incentives really are part of the way that films do business. So if you go to the next slide. You'll see that, compared to other states, we have a very small incentive in terms of the amount of money that we offer. But it's really been interesting in how we continue to stay competitive because although incentives matter, it really is part of the budget. Utah competes on landscapes, experienced crew, the infrastructure we have, and just the kind of film friendliness of the communities around the state. So we have had a lot of examples where we're competing with people like Canada, Vancouver. They have unlimited resources, no cap. So this is hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year put towards the film incentive, but we can compete because we have the locations that they want. They won't come without an incentive, but they will often choose to come for less than they could get somewhere else because the other resources we offer are better. Okay, yeah, go ahead to the next slide. So just looking at the impact and kind of the year in review, actually this is over the 4 years that we had the rural film incentive at its full value. And we were able to bring 96 productions in those 4 years. 68% of those productions were based in rural Utah. So out of our total economic impact of over 340 million, 200 million of that happened in rural Utah. So really saw a great amount of impact. And the production spend, which was so interesting in the data that we have begun to collect from these projects, is that although maybe they filmed in 12 to 15 counties, the spend really bleeds over into 28 of 29 counties. So and that was an argument that we made on the Hill last year, is just that this is really touches so many neighboring counties. And you guys definitely see it in things that are shot in San Juan or shot in Emory. You're still getting hotels and restaurants out of that. So we can go to the next section. I wanted to dive in a little more to just specifically Grand County. So wanted to use kind of in a larger way 2 examples. And I wanted to highlight both because Horizon obviously was a large scale epic film. And then Godzilla is a large scale film, but what we saw in Utah was a smaller window of production. So different models, but both created some really great local impact. You can go to the next slide. So looking at Horizon first, I've used this slide for the entire spend, but now because of the data we have, I was able to pull out just Grand County, and it's just really great to see overall the spending. So $19 million spent in Grand County, $8 million in accommodations alone. It's you can see how broad the ripple effect is. So it's not just film business, it's lodging, construction, transportation, retail, restaurants. They really rely heavily on local businesses that people don't immediately associate with film. And I think that's where local communities love to see it, because it isn't just, traditional film businesses. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Oh, and also, yeah, I forgot to mention, like 1,000 vendors, I think it says on the bottom of that slide. There were 1,000 vendors in Grand County. I mean, that's huge. And some were just a little bit and some were a lot more. So it was just really, again, super interesting to see. So when you look at Godzilla, this is a film that shot last summer. It will premiere next spring, March of 2027. Smaller spend, just a little under 1.5 million, but almost $1 million in lodging, 94 vendors, more than 30 restaurant and food vendors. And I mean, I think I was pulling some of the data. I thought it was really interesting because City Market, obviously everyone goes to City Market, but this film spent almost $20,000 at City Market. So just, it's such a great infusion for some local businesses when they come in for just a week or two.
Virginia, oh, interrupt just a sec.
Yeah.
I saw the construction costs on there. I'm curious, did not many films, you see a lot of films traveling with a construction crew, or are they looking to hire locally? And then how can, the construction experience best, bid on those projects?
I think they'll usually bring the head of their construction department, and then they'll try to hire local laborers. A lot of those construction costs will be lumber. I know for Horizon, those of
Okay.
you who were around during that, was just such an impressive set that they actually built and then burned to the ground and then built again. So we were all saying like, wow, that's a really inefficient way to shoot, but also good for lumber yards in Moab because they basically built the same set twice. So I think a lot of that cost is in materials, but they do hire local hammers, as they call them.
Thanks. Virginia, I have a follow-up question on that slide. The payroll and per diem of 5.5 million, how much of that is for local talent and how much of that is payroll that was paid to the talent, the Hollywood talent?
So that is all Grand County payroll and per diem.
Nice.
So yeah,
Nice.
and that was something I really wanted to pull out because in the actual, so this total spend on Horizon, I think was closer to 90 million. And so the payroll is like 40 million. And that is actually not cast, that's just Utah residents. So I was able to pull out just the Grand County payroll and per diem. That was impressive amount.
Virginia, my question is, do you get access to this information because they're seeking an incentive? So as part of that
Yeah.
contract, you have to give you those reports.
They do. They have to give us data when they submit their audit before we give them. And we've been getting better at asking the way that we ask for information. We didn't used to be able to get to this specific because they would often, well, they were giving us a vendor list that had all the addresses and names, and then they were giving us their spend and it didn't have the addresses on it. So it had the names, but no addresses. And as you can imagine with a $90 million project, the Excel spreadsheet was like 10,000 lines long. It was not feasible for us to say like, let's put this together. AI has been helping. We are working on that. But we're getting them to now give us that data in a better way. So actually, I think it was Godzilla that we're going to try and do a look at. I don't know if anyone has seen the program called Story Mapping, and it's a computer program that helps you tell a story with data. With you can add visuals and video, and the way that Godzilla gave us their spend is they actually gave us every address for every line item. So you can really map exactly how they spent money. They flew into the airport, they picked up rental cars, they stopped at Beaver Taco, they got gas, they had a breakdown somewhere, they went to a mechanic, it's really fascinating to watch the way an entire crew moves through the state to come and spend money in the particular place where they're going to shoot. So we're still working on that, but I think it'll be a really good look for all of us to see the way it works. Okay, I talked about Godzilla, and then just, thinking long-term film impact really continues after the production leaves. So when we work with the Office of Tourism and talk about some studies and work and add some film questions into their studies, 39% of visitors say that some kind of film or television influenced their Utah travel decision. So it translates into about $600 million annually in film tourism impact. And that may look like, someone extending their stay to go see a film trail marker, or specifically saying, I love the Westerns of Thelma and Louise. I want to see those landscapes. The Utah Film Trail now has 32, well, will have 32 markers. I think we have 28 installed. 28 installed. So we're so close. Grand County, obviously, one at Dead Horse Point, one at the Red Cliffs Lodge. And this is just film production. It really creates the economic impact, but film tourism creates a much longer line of visitation and visibility. And this picture is from Galaxy Quest screening at Goblin Valley State Park, which was so fun. And someday, just to put it out there, would love to do a Thelma and Louise screening out at Dead Horse Point. We did this without power. So we brought all of the power and worked with the Utah Film Center to make it happen. And it was just the coolest. And just, thinking through, we haven't done any kind of ribbon cutting or any celebration on the ones at Grand County. We've only done a couple around the state, and it really just depends on, who's ready, who's been thinking about like what I want to do. We've done a couple of ribbon cuttings and a couple of events like this, but just putting it out there for when you guys are thinking about, maybe you have an event that's coming that you want to tag on to, but we'd love to work with you on that.
Foreshadowing,
Virginia,
we
I'll break
have,
the red ribbon and the scissors.
We did giant scissors in Bryce Canyon, and it was the coolest thing I've ever done. I was like, I really want the giant scissors.
I have them for you. They're just waiting on you.
I
Amazing.
was gonna say, foreshadowing, we have some film tourism as a part of our co-op marketing grant this year. So we'll be proposing
Oh,
that in
great.
item six today. So,
Just really
Great.
quickly, do you have any comment or on why there was a $9 million reduction from 12 million to 3?
I don't have a great explanation. I have been trying to get to the heart of that. I think a lot of it came from the fact that it was just not a great budget year. They were trying to make up that $300 million they had to make up from the big beautiful bill. There was a lot of support on the legislative side, or at least we were hearing there was a lot of support. I know, Brian, you and I were on the Hill quite a bit talking
Yeah.
to people, and everyone was saying like, yeah, we got it. We we know it's important, and we believe it's important, and we're going to make it happen. Up until the very last day at midnight, I was, told that we were going to get the full funding. I think there were other projects that they wanted to support. I don't know. I would love to know. So anyone who wants to do some sleuthing would be great.
Well, we can lobby for next year.
Yes, and we're definitely, that's our goal, is to continue to ask for the funding to be reinstated. I think that $12 million in rural, while we can use anything they can give us, the 12 million was really a sweet spot that allowed us to have larger projects like Horizon, but also a lot of smaller projects, which keep people busy and working all year round.
I'm originally from Georgia, where I've seen firsthand how it completely changed the whole, in economy in Georgia, and it created a secondary economy, just based on incentives.
Yeah, it's huge business, really.
Right.
Does anyone have any other questions?
Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us.
Yeah, I'm sad I'm not there in person. I love being in Moab.
That's okay. I like your office, and that looks very nice too.
Sadly, not for much longer. We're losing our office building, so I'm just trying to soak it in while we have it.
Where are you shifting to?
We will be down with GoEd in the World Trade Center downtown. I don't know if you guys have ever been in that office, but This will now be part of the Pioneer Trail.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Virginia.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Great to see you all.
Good to see you.
And Mick, again, thanks for organizing that. It's really helpful. I mean, got some great stats in there, you know, on the economic contribution.
I'll take one first.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the April 26th meeting. I have read them. If everybody has had a chance, hopefully, to read the minutes. Thank you again, Ally, for doing such a great comprehensive job of that.
Yes, thank
And
you.
I would welcome any motions or if there's any changes to approve those minutes.
There was a recommended motion. I read it.
If somebody would like to make a motion, we've got a motion from Flora.
The April 2026 Tourism Advisory Board meeting minutes.
Do I have a second? I have a second from Alex. So any discussion? All those in favor of approving the April 26th meeting minutes? All those in favor say aye.
I'll abstain. I haven't read it.
We have one abstention from Howard. Was that online? Is that somebody?
Jason.
Is Jason? Okay, yeah, right. Okay, next is an update from Ali and Mick on the special event marketing grant.
Yeah. So this is more of an announcement. The next round of special event grant funding is due May 31st. It's for the period July 1 through June 30 of next year, 2027. So if people know anyone having events in that period through
What are those dates once again?
it's July 1, 2026 to June 30 of 2027. So if you know anyone having an event in the spring or early summer of next year, they could apply by the end of this month. And then, you know, it's still a question for this board. If right now we had 2 overlapping periods. So we had the first round was for all of 2026. So this overlaps by 6 months. And let's get through this round and then decide if you want to open up another round that would include early 2027, maybe in the fall.
And is that something we should discuss today?
Nope.
No, okay, because we still have until May 31st for this round. This was supposed to be a subcommittee decision to review by June 8th. So that we can present at the next MTAB meeting. Currently, there's no application, so if you could just keep us apprised, so if there is anything, then we can meet and discuss that for this round.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good. Next we have the Leslie here from Madden Media joining us. Thank you so much. Leslie, just so you know, from Madden Media has joined us on so many meetings. And Madden in particular has been so gracious in with branding, with data, we've had a multitude of meetings over the last few weeks, and you guys have had even more. And I just thank Madden for being so proactive and in joining us and being so just forthcoming with data and everything that's happening. So I look forward to hearing from Leslie today on our Q1 paid media results.
Yeah, and I'll just note quickly, Leslie was in market a couple weeks ago, and she and her team presented for 4 hours on these topics. So there's a 2-hour meeting on Q1 business results. Anyone who's interested should go to YouTube and watch that meeting. It has more detail. So we asked Leslie to present today just a really high-level overview of those results. It can be just 5-10 minutes. But if you have interest in, you know, where we're advertising, how it's performing, etc., there's a deep dive into that on YouTube. There's also a follow-up later in the afternoon on YouTube for some special projects that we're engaging Madden on. So again, that's another 2-hour presentation that covers newsletter, data, creative, and what am I missing?
SEO.
SEO. So again, if you love all things tourism marketing, tune in.
And kudos to Nick for making all these public, because some of these meetings do get tedious and we have a lot of questions and they're 2-hour meetings. So if you feel free to join and see what they're like and want more information, Go for your life. Yeah. And you're
Continue to
presenting
do
to
that.
the board too, yeah.
So with that, we'll turn it over to Leslie for Q1 update.
Yeah, well, perfect. You all should within this meeting have the full attachment, which is what Nick was referencing that we reviewed. And so I hope it's okay. I put kind of a distilled version together to walk through with you guys. My apologies, I didn't send that over in advance. But if you're okay with that, I would love to review that. And of course, then you can dive deeper into the recording or that deck. So if you guys are okay, I'm just going to share a little bit of a smaller deck, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Jazz hands.
Okay, great. You should be seeing my deck now. So what we'll focus on today is really what that first quarter looked like. So just a little bit of a rewind, right? We all started working together May, June of last year. And so a lot of this year was, focused on really bringing that welcoming message, being able to have more paid media support out there. And then in January, we shifted to talking more about, preparing for spring, preparing for summer. And then our tactics shifted and adjusted in that time also. So some kind of high level information I want to be able to talk through. So one of the things that we know is important is to make sure that we have these conversion focused tactics, right? That we're really pushing people to book a trip, stay in hotels. And so we do that in a variety of ways. And so we wanted to be able to communicate that total impact here. So there is impact beyond what we're communicating here, but this is what we can specifically tie to the campaigns that we're running. So for just the time frame from January through March, we've had $5.6 million of revenue impact. We've delivered over 9.3 million impressions, and we've had almost 100,000 clicks to the website. So again, we want to be able to convert them, but we also want to make sure that we're driving them to the website to get further inspiration and get more information about the destination and the things to do there. So we want to make sure that everything we're doing goes back to the goals that we have set. So you're going to hear me probably remind you about these, reinforce these, just to ensure that we're always on the same page. So our primary objectives here have really been to increase the average length of stay. The reason for that is because we know that when people come and they stay longer, right, they not only are often more respectful visitors, but they're also spending more money, right? And so we're really able to prioritize, call it quality over quantity. We also want to make sure that we're supporting visitation during times that you have demand, but also during those shoulder seasons, right? It's important that we continue to position Moab as a year-round destination. Also making sure that we're driving high intent traffic to the website, right? We could drive a bunch of traffic to the website, but if it's not quality traffic, if it's not traffic that's really going to engage in the website, then that's not how we want to spend our dollars. And that's not a respectful way to spend those dollars. And we also want to make sure that we're encouraging that repeat visitation, and that with that, they're diving further into whatever those tools are to expand their trip, right? Itineraries, just continuing to really get deeper. And so when we look at really that January through March timeframe, just wanted to call out some places that we're excited to highlight where we're seeing success. So I think people get tired of hearing about Meta and Facebook, but still seeing some really great performance there. So we look a lot at engagement on how our social is performing. And so we have, based on the media that we place and the quantity of media that we place, we have benchmarks that we use to gauge performance. So right now, specifically to our content that is around retired adventure planning, we're seeing engagement 15%, above what our benchmarks are. So like to call that out as a really strong performance. And then we've worked collaboratively with the Moab team to come up with a little bit of a stopgap as far as what we're pushing out for video content. but still that video content is performing really well. So we talk about video completion rates. So, right, it's great to get a video, but are you actually watching it all the way through? So when we talk about our YouTube buy, we're seeing about 72% video completion rate. So they're not just seeing it, they're not just abandoning it, they're really watching the video through. And that's about 10% higher than what we see as an average or our benchmark. So really excited to see that that is continuing to resonate. And then I want to, yes.
Quickly on your last slide. On average length of stay, two things, I think anecdotally, we've all experienced that tourists come here and they say, oh my gosh, I had no idea this was here. I wish I'd known, I would have booked an extra night, I would have stayed longer, etc. So that's something we're observing and something that we could develop advertising around to set those expectations before somebody comes in the trip planning phase. So we're focusing on that and we could lean into that more. Also, as we think about average length of stay, there's a cost of changing out your tourists. So people are coming and going every single day. That's more traffic. And if we have one family staying for 5 days, we lessen that burden. So those are just a few things that we're thinking about around length of stay, and that we, like I said, we could lean into more in the next year.
Yeah. And then when we talked about kind of the trackable revenue or the trackable impact from these campaigns, the 3 campaigns that are really focused on that is our Expedia buy, our Hopper buy, and then also our Adara buy, which is what's able to track footfall. So you'll see here, right, a lot of really great, Expedia is really doing a lot of great work and holding a lot of weight here. Just a reminder that for this Expedia buy, we're not just capturing people who are booking to Moab, right? They have to have clicked on, they have to have engaged with our ads to then be counted within this tactic and the results from this. So just want to make sure we're really making that clear. And then we also have.
I'm sorry, also Expedia is also a whole portfolio. It's not just Expedia, right?
Yes, yeah. So in Expedia, right, you're also seeing some short-term rentals. You're also seeing other properties or other places that you can book that Expedia owns. So it is much bigger than I think what maybe the traditional idea of what Expedia is. And then we also have our Hopper buy that we have. And so just want to focus or call out real quick. So with this Hopper buy, this didn't launch until March. So what you're seeing is really only a month of results here. So we're excited to see what that looks like when we get past that first 30 days. So we should be getting some April data here as well. And then Adara again is, did they see the ads and did they show up in market? So wanted to highlight at least these 3 specific tactics. And again, there's additional information in both the meeting and the deck. And then a little bit of a highlight here of seeing some really great performance from our retired travelers when we think about that kind of more empty nester audience. We're seeing some really great click-through rate in January is what we wanted to call out. So when you think about paid search or you think about the tactics that we have that are associated with demand, it's really great to see about a 10% click-through rate. So they're seeing the ad, they're clicking on the ad, they're going to your website. So in January, where things sometimes can feel a little bit dormant, we really saw some strong click-through rate. We're also seeing some really great connection with your next chapter starts here from a creative standpoint. So that being something that really connects with people. And then when people are getting to the website, we are seeing higher engagement when they're on the desktop versus they're on the mobile. That makes sense, I think, when you think about how you engage with the website, but also we know people are on their phones so much. So just something for us to continue to watch and be aware of as we think about how we're targeting.
And really quickly, Leslie, just for the general public point of view, what do you consider a good click-through rate showing? Because these are really good, but just to give a standard so that people understand how well this is performing.
Yeah, so where you see the highest is on paid search. So if you're going to your computer, you're going to Google and you're saying, I need a new refrigerator, right? So those ads that pop up at the top, that is considered paid search. You usually see the highest click through rate there, which is maybe about 10%. I think industry standard is 8 to 10. And so we're seeing about double that with a lot of what we're doing here for Moab. When we get down to social tactics, you're seeing about a 1% to a 2% on prospecting. So that's, hey, you've never met us. We're just wanting to get to know you. You fall within our target marketing. You see that at about a 1 to 2. Once we get down to that retargeting, so they have seen your messaging before or they've been to your website, we see that at about 3 or 4%. So again, that 19% shows some really quality click-through rates. But then when we get to banner ads, you see that a lot less, because when you have a banner ad or you're focusing on that programmatic, it's a little bit more about frequency. It's a little bit more about repetition. They're less likely to click in that. And so it's more, we're trying to make sure we're reinforcing the messaging, reinforcing the branding on that kind of top of the media ecosystem.
Thank you.
And then just a little bit here on, what's kind of happening in some of these supporting areas and how technology is changing and adjusting things. So, obviously we're talking about how AI has an important piece in what we're doing and how people are traveling. And so what we're seeing year over year is we're able to look and see how the Discover Moab website is referenced within AI and within those searches that come up through AI. So from that standpoint, we're seeing a 205% increase year over year with those references within Chat GPT and Gemini. And with that, users are really focused on asking questions about hiking and about scenic drives. So it's really important that we not only think about where we're showing up in search, but how we're showing up within these language models as people are planning and searching for different things. So really excited about some of that growth and some of that engagement there. Another piece that we have, if you go to the Moab site, you might see that there is a small little chat within there. So this is actually part of a buy. So you might see it on the site, but you're also seeing it in other areas where we're placing buys. So what it allows people to do is search and ask questions. It pre-qualifies some questions in there, and it allows us to understand more about what people are searching for. And so we're seeing a lot of inquiries around accommodations and around itineraries. And so with that, we're looping that back through, right? So this is great to know from a paid standpoint, but it's really great to know for our web team and for the Moab team to know, oh, these are the things that people are interested in. Let's make sure we have content and we're providing information about that to support it. And then with that kind of connection with AI, we've really transitioned from like a little bit more of a traditional SEO that was really technical support to continuing to drive awareness to show up in the AI-driven search. So this stuff can get a little bit nerdy. I think it makes me excited, but it's really important for us to show how we're keeping pace with how technology is changing and how we're adapting to that.
Just a quick note on that, if you, you know, the content for Moab, we're not a big place. So the big thing with AI is authority, and we're seen as an authority when bots are scraping sites. So that's good. But things are changing with how you develop content in a website. Adding quotes from other authorities. So if we got the National Park Service to add a quote to a page for arches, they prioritize pages for those reasons. And we're going through kind of systematically to update our pages so that we're registering on AI. I was just at a website conference last week, and you start to imagine a world where none of us are going to go to websites anymore. We're just going to go to chat bots or AI bots and ask questions. And then they're going to, who knows how the industry will evolve, but we could be administering an information site that's drawing into these chatbots. So
question, hypothetically, if we have various local sites and local businesses using similar messaging and links, that would strengthen what we're doing in this regard.
Good question. you know, you don't want duplicative content, but in that referral, like for us to use a local business as an authority, we might get prioritized for that content. So, you know, give me an example of your question.
So, just as far as being an authority, I guess that would be sharing links to certain websites within the community. If everybody, the more that we did that, would that, you know, strengthen the authority level?
So you know, and this is like talking about nerdy, but if you were trying to improve your hotel site and you cited Discover Moab, you might start to rank higher on authority because it's seeing the link between those two authorities and vice versa. Similarly, if you had a quote from the chair of the Moab Tourism Advisory Board on your site, it's going to start to prioritize those things. And that's a way to increase your visibility in AI. All this is developing. Leslie, I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, the differentiating content, I think is, you know, is what we talk about a lot, is making sure, like Mick said, you don't want to have the same content, but making, like, bringing your own niche to that. Like, so what's special that you can bring up, that you can kind of call up, that's a little bit different. So, there's lots of like different ways to do that. But I think looking at your property or looking at what you offer and what you know, especially people come in and ask about, or you're having conversations with, right? That's just a verbal inquiry. So creating some content around that will help to elevate that.
It's a developing topic, and I think we weren't even going to make it to the item 8. It's postponed, but this would be a good time. About AI, because it's definitely coming.
Okay. Sorry, I lost you guys for just a second. The other thing I wanted to call out real quick as we're talking about some of these things, and just a shout out here for the PR team. PR and the articles that you guys are being featured in, that's also a really important piece for AI and for how they're looking at data. So just a quick call out of how those things kind of all work together. And then Mick had mentioned, we were talking about some of the, call it, support services and other things that we're doing as well. So I feel like last year we focused so much on the media, which is obviously a priority, but we want to make sure that we're thinking about that full user experience, that full journey, as they're interacting with the brand, as they're interacting with Discover Moab. So a couple of things that we have been working on in support of that is our email marketing. And so again, email is very important because it is your user who is saying, I want to know more. I want insider information. Like, I am very excited. Tell me more. And so we have a couple different things going on here. So we do have monthly executions now that you will see that is focused on those people who have signed up, the visitors, potential visitors who have signed up, that provides more information about Moab or events. There's a variety of things there. But we also have an onboarding series that we're working on that is really, okay, I signed up, now what, right? So it really brings you into what kind of information we want you to dive in a little bit more. So again, it's making sure that as we're getting traffic or as we're getting leads or contacts, that we're really nurturing those contacts based on where they are in that overall ecosystem. So a lot of really great things going on with email. We also have another effort that we've been working on that is focused on user-generated content. So that is really in-market video content that is meant to, help answer some questions or help have timely videos that are talking about things like understanding traffic for Memorial Day, right, to some of the different parks. So that's another effort that we're working on with local creators that we're really excited about. And lastly, we have been working with the team on an updated dashboard around, what you would expect kind of from your executive summary, where we're looking at occupancy, we're looking at tax collections, a variety of those things. And so we have kind of that 1.0 version that we have been sharing and are now working on making some tweaks for that, so we can make sure that that's updated and accessible to the team and the community. here relatively soon. So some really big, I think, movements over the last couple months. And I think that is it for presentation 1.
Yeah, let's say it's three presentations here. We can tell we can't help ourselves digging into these things, but like I said, we touch on all of those topics for 4 hours. In those meetings.
Yeah. I just wanted to share that, she kind of, in the deep dive, they're doing a lot. I'm just because there's a lot that they're doing that she didn't highlight with Condé Nast and all the other things that you're doing that is really exciting. That'll be happening in Q2. So, yeah, thanks for that. Cool. So, hey, any questions for Leslie on Q1 results? Thank you very much. Which kind of segues, it segues into the next, which is Leslie's also going to be presenting item number 5, which is the proposal to invest additional funds to drive visitation in July and August 2026. And I will pass that back to Leslie again. Or to me.
Yeah, and I'll just say quickly, you know, when we look at visitation, we talk about this in this board a lot, that we have kind of this rolling dips. So we have visitation in spring and fall, and it dips in summer and it dips in winter. One thing that we're looking at is how do we flatten that curve in the summer, so that as people are, you know, staffing, you know, all the things that come with running a business and then managing it through a downturn, what can we do to target those months to try to alleviate that burden? So this request is and has a recommended motion as well, is to target July and August and try to drive visitation in those months, and would be in addition to the media plan that we've already approved for 2020.
Particularly since the forward bookings are not looking great.
Yes, and in general, we know that summer there's a dip, and we want to let that out as a strategic goal.
Any specific markets in mind?
She's going to be talking about that in her
I was
presentation.
just thinking, yeah.
Yep. We'll dive into that as well as what tactics we're talking about. Again, want this to be very specific and very tangible as far as what we're doing, what we're recommending, and how we would look at targeting. And so a lot of the data that we're focused on right now is being able to try our best to be able to forecast what bookings are looking like right now with those partnerships with Expedia. And of course, we're also coupling that with a lot of conversations that we're having and a lot of different pieces that we're what we're calling kind of the great trip edit, right? And so we talked earlier about really wanting to prioritize length of stay. So what we're seeing right now is people are still taking trips, but they're nervous, right? They're nervous about the high gas prices. And so they might just be taking one trip, or they might be taking one trip that's a little bit shorter, or a couple trips that are a little bit shorter. So, you know, it's really our focus to make sure that we're shifting to, I think, put some urgency behind people trying to book. And also trying to pivot away from this kind of great trip edit to make sure that Moab is, you know, top of mind as people are trying to prioritize what kind of trip they're going to take. And so with that,
I'll just say quickly on that last slide, when I first saw this, it was alarming to me. If you could go back.
Is that general down or is that Moab down?
So it was alarming to me. It's, wow, we're down 6.1%, but that's comparing when June had already happened last year, right? So we have 6.1% to sell before we're at June's level, which we'll probably do, right? Booking windows are shortening. We're on track to hitting that metric, and this campaign would be targeted to sell more in June. If we're sitting here right now, where we have 25.1% of rooms to sell between now and July to meet last year, if that makes sense. And same with August, 12.6. So, I mean, being down 12.6% to August
Just to get
meet
prepared.
to next year,
Just to get,
we're gonna do it.
yeah.
But this campaign is really targeted on the, you know, those we've got, you know, if we get to 0% on all of those, we still have a dip in visitation when we look at spring and fall. So this is targeted to drive even additional visitation.
When was
Summer.
the fire last year in Melissa Mountain? Do you remember?
You'd have to look that up. Thanks, Leslie.
Yeah, I think it's being aware of the data and then also knowing, right, each year provides its own kind of nuances to think about as we're planning. And this year, we're thinking about what does that mean for road trips? What does that mean for based on gas prices? So, what we wanted to do is provide a year over year comparison to give some context between what the efforts that Madden supported last year between what that looks like this year. And so definitely this year we've had the opportunity to stretch that funding out differently, whereas last year it was more concentrated. But what you'll see is we had a lot of budget that was out in August. We had a lot of budget that was out in September. We really missed kind of getting ahead of that July timeframe with what we were able to do together. And then with that, when we look at the numbers from last year, you started to see more of those impacts in October, in November. And so what you can see on the 2026 spend is what we have currently planned within our existing budget to spend each month. So we wanted to just provide that comparison to just say, okay, well, let's make sure we're providing that data and additional context to what is the shift that we're seeing in budget and what we're able to put out there to support real time. And again, knowing that booking window is quite tight, having the data just say, okay, what does that actually look like from what we're pushing out for spend? So with that, what we wanted to do at first, we talked about, do we kind of come up with like this tiered approach? But then we really wanted to make sure that we were providing a tiered option here. And so the first one that we wanted to talk through was our meta prospecting. And so we've had a variety of things to talk about, Jeep Safari or different things that we have been pushing in addition to kind of our main campaigns and the main campaigns that we have that are aligned with our goals. But we pull from meta prospecting as we're doing these other efforts and these other campaigns. And so what we want to do here is do a larger push that really talks about families, really pushes how it's a great time to travel, really pushes how this is an optimal time as far as pricing. And so this will be really those existing markets we're talking about, prioritizing drive markets and those that we see having some existing kind of strong routes. And so this will be what that looks like is our click to site ad. So that's very much a photo, copy, click, let's go. We'll also have carousels, which allows us to tell a larger story. So when we're talking about, hey, you think you know Moab, get a little bit deeper. Carousels are a really great way to do that. And then we'll also have reels, which will allow us to utilize some of the new footage that has been coming in. And so our goal here would be to utilize this on top of that budget that we have right now from June through August, which is about $2,000 a month is what we're utilizing there. So we want to make sure we're still focused on those main goals. We have that budget going and that we have this to really layer on and really push that visitation and that short turnaround. So this is what we see as the priority tactic as we're moving forward. And then from that, we also have Expedia. And so we've talked a lot about Expedia and what we're doing there. The shift here is really about conquesting. So the shift here is being a little more bullish to say, okay, we really want to target those people who are interested in some of our competition, right? Or in some of those other places to go this summer. So this would complement our existing plan, but would tap into targeting that's focused on people who are searching for Lake Tahoe, Yosemite, and so on, and really trying to get them to book immediate room nights. And again, because this tactic is very see the ad, can book the ad, this will really push more of that urgency, push more of that kind of price point conversation about how, this is one of the, call it, most valuable or where you have the most value to book a trip now from a cost standpoint. So from, again, that priority section or prioritization, this is really what we see as kind of like the second most important as we look at different tactics to support this time frame. And then also adding in some programmatic. And so we do have some programmatic right now that we're already running. Again, this is a little bit more of a shift to having some more conquesting in there, and then having, again, that specific targeting around outdoor, around adventure. We would be focusing on those display banners here, as well as connected TV. And so you can see, what the budget is there to support as well. Again, trying to focus on outdoor immediacy and then that conquesting piece here. And then lastly, what we want to do
I'll just
is,
say quickly, programmatic is a word that marketers use, but if you're ever on the New York Times or shopping on some site and you see a Moab ad, that's what programmatic ads are. They're serving ads. They serve you an ad from somewhere you are on the internet, and then it will kind of start to follow you. I see those ads. I don't know if anybody else does.
If you're watching Netflix or Amazon or CTV that has a 99 point, what was it? What's the view rate on that? 99
yeah,
point something?
yeah. So the view rates on connected TV are usually like 99%, and then the connected TV are, I think, 70 to 75%.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep watching your show. You watch that.
Yes,
Yeah. But just to get everybody's.
During the whole time, so you don't really listen to me.
I like now. I watch watching the 30 seconds. Thanks, Leslie. Okay.
No, you're good. And then the last tactic we have here is through United Airlines. So it's important to note this isn't, this is with their audience and their information. So it's not necessarily pushing flights. It's utilizing information they have and target information they have around some of those potential feeder hubs. So it's really focusing on those people who are Mileage Plus members. They are living within a 300-mile radius of Moab, pushing that urgency, focused on family, outdoor enthusiasts, and again, those like high value travelers. But we're really focused here with this spot on capturing their audience. Audiences that we know are willing to travel, audiences that we know are interested in travel, and then being able to kind of shift from there, allowing for a quick road trip or whatnot to kind of support that July, August timeframe. So from a timeline perspective, felt like it was important to talk about what this looks like. And so, right, we presented this to the Moab team, presenting this to you, taking any feedback. And then our goal would be to have at least some of these campaigns launch in June. So trying to do a relatively quick turnaround for June through July. And then this is the total of what those different pieces look like.
All right. Seems good. I wouldn't waste any money on United because we don't have any connectivity from United to Moab. So maybe next year when we have that service, I would certainly, advocate for that. But Contour Airlines is our.
Just to clarify,
yeah.
the United buy, and Leslie, if you don't mind pulling back that slide up.
Yes, yeah.
It's just for first party data. So people that are Mileage Plus members have a lot of money, will get their first party data and we'll be able to serve them ads via newsletters, etc. So we're not asking them to take a flight. If let's say you're a Mileage Plus member with United, we might serve you an ad or send you an email, but it has nothing, it's not related to a flight, it'd be related to.
Focusing on drive markets.
Is that going to drive?
Pleasure.
Business forward?
Well, they're focusing on drive markets for the most part.
What are our drive markets? Just out of interest, what is Mod and identifiers are specific drive markets?
Well, Phoenix, but we were just looking at Q1 and 60% of visitors with the Zero data, were from Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
9%, and 9% is then.
July and August, just to be honest and frank, is not the time that people from the mountains come to the desert.
But Texas comes in.
Texas, I agree with. Phoenix, I agree with. Oklahoma, I agree with. Anywhere that has hot, humid climates that come into a high arid desert, that's the market you want to be driving in the summer months.
I'll also say we're trying to shift, we have to shift the idea of what a trip here is in those months because it is what it is. There was a great article in the Wall Street Journal that Camp Stories placed last year that was how to experience Moab in the depths of summer. So we advise people to get up early, do morning hikes, be outside until noon, then go back to the hotel, hang at the pool, have a siesta, and then plan for some sort of evening stargazing or something like this. So if you do it right, it can be a great trip. We've also been talking about the creative related to this.
Yeah, so yeah, this creative is definitely more focused on the urgency involved in that, and it's also knowing that the way people are making decisions is changing based on, you know, what we're seeing right now in the economy and those markets. And so we are anticipating
We're
people.
thinking that we could serve something like Moab's best kept secret. So we definitely have to change perceptions, but like I said, the experience of coming here in the summer is what it is. But I tend to believe that you can have a good trip, especially if my hotel's 50% off.
Right.
I might consider it. So we have to tell that story. That's kind of what we'd be going after.
Yeah, so I'd just like to point out, right, what Howard was just saying about it being, you know, these hot months. I would say that Zion and St. George is a very similar climate to here. And July and August are their two biggest months. So just take that in, and that has to do with marketing right there. I think that if I look at where I think our biggest opportunity is for Grand County, our biggest opportunity is in those months right there. Right, and the reason is because we're fully staffed, we're ready to go. You know, there's marketing campaigns all over the place between Bryce, Zion, you know, Capital Reef, everybody else is running. I think that we're missing out on that piece of the pie right there. Also looking at this and some of the conversations that I've had, as I kind of project out what our revenues are this year. Right now, we're tracking at about 10% up and over, and I came at that from both ways, right? From adding up these numbers right here, and then also coming at it the other way.
Sales
So
tax.
what's that total taxes right here, and PRT revenues, we'll be somewhere right around anywhere between 400,000 and 500,000 under budget from what we had budgeted this year. Right, so we are gonna have to put some money, looking at our reserves, right, into the market right now. If I was to put my money anywhere, it would probably be in those summer months, that July and August right there. And once again, I really like what Madden has done right there and done this conquesting towards Zion. I mean, you can go type it up into AI. I just did it right now. July and August are their two busiest months. Let's go after those customers that are right there. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Any other
Do we
questions?
convince you?
There is a recommended motion that Mick put here. If anybody has any more discussions or would like to make a motion, be happy to entertain that. Or if there are any other questions for Leslie on this.
Do we have that sort of funding available to even make a motion for that?
In spades.
General funding for marketing?
100,
Okay.
we're, once again, Howard, like I was saying, we are gonna have to spend
Oh, yeah,
$500,000 more than we have budgeted right now.
okay.
Looking at it and then adding in, we're also going to have, if we don't go through with the special events grant, if that doesn't come through this year,
Move that.
we're gonna have that, because right now, looking at our reserves, well, once again, even though last year we had that great big overspend, right? We did so well last year that we brought those reserves right back up again. So we're right up against the wire again. So like I said, I'm projecting that we're gonna need to spend anywhere between 400,000 and 500,000 additional this year, so.
I plan to put together a financial packet for you all that we can include in the board meetings month over month, so that you have consistent access to those things like the reserve fund. I asked Gabe what the reserve fund was last week, and he said it's 4.3 million. So we bump up against holding too much. You can only hold 50% of what you collect in a year, so we have to keep track of that. And we're very close to that, based on what we close, about 8 million. And then, but just in general, I'd like you guys to be aware of our expenditures and how much money we're holding, how much money we're bringing in, and we'll get better at making that easier for you to kind of digest.
Yes, Howard?
I move to approve $236,000 in additional paid media funding to support the proposed campaign to drive visitation in July and August 2026.
I second that.
All right, there was a motion on the floor from Howard, seconded by Lori McFarland, to approve the $236,000 in additional paid media funding to support the proposed campaign to drive visitation in July and August 2026. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it was unanimous.
And applause to Leslie. Thank you for sharing the UTC.
She's not going anywhere though. She's
Not
staying.
not done with me yet, though.
Okay.
That will move on to the commission. Ally and I are out at a trade show next week. Brian will present that to the commission.
Okay.
So that will be the final approval for that.
Perfect.
How do you feel about this?
The campaign?
Yes.
Great. I really do think, like Brian said, this is something that we can devote significant attention to and see results. People are gonna come in spring and fall, but we can change the story in summer and we could devote more attention to it. And I would love to flatten that curve. I get to have the idea, an outfitter gets all their employees in for the summer and then it kind of gets slow and people are ready to work and we should try to continue to.
So how do we coordinate with like hotels on the pricing? Cause it seems like, I feel like a lot of people are looking for deals in the summertime on what to do.
That's very true, and it's a very good question too, because what I saw was a shift just last week. And so there was a significant decrease during that time period that we were talking about. So there's a big discussion on, we're talking about the looking window versus the booking window. So the booking window is very short, but that booking window is much longer. And so if we are scaring away some of our visitors from that booking window, maybe they are gonna go to our competitors like Zion and Bryce. So that's a big part of that discussion. And what we know is that every single hotel is gonna watch that rate. So it only takes a few hotels to start that trend. And this will help that as well, but we can start to see that shift. And then we'll see if we do start seeing that visitation, you'll also see that incremental increase that will happen along the way too.
So do hotels sometimes play with, ooh, we're not getting as many of those advanced bookings, let's drop it and then raise it up a little bit maybe, or how do they figure that out?
Game plays good. You can play the game both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You really can.
it's both ways, and so, and every hotel is gonna have a slightly different strategy as well. So. And every hotel has a slightly different demographic that's going to react to that pricing. But that is a basic pricing strategy, is to create demand within the market by dropping that price point, which we've always done during the winter time, we've always done in the summertime. But I think historically, and one of the issues, it's debatable, it's a big point of discussion, is keeping that rate high a little bit longer for summertime, which I personally, could hurt us in the long run because of that booking window. But we did see that shift happen just this week.
So tell me, I'm really fascinated by this. So what did that shift look like? What, did it just say people stopped booking for July 20th or?
So we'll have systems that give us our pace. So we'll be able to look at that pace. And so what we'll see, and the pace was, it was looking pretty steady, but then you see a decline in that pace. So what happens when that pace starts to decline, you have to review that pricing strategy. If the pace is increasing, again, you look at the pricing strategy and you go in the opposite direction.
Sure.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you can have influence over that by being on it? The ladies that are in the hotel industry in this room, I feel like you're tracking, you're watching, I feel like that's because you're aware. That awareness really changes. What the kind of question Alex is asking is, how do we influence that?
Well, and I think it's
Yeah.
also building value for the coming here during the summer months. So, what are they getting out of that? Are they getting more at Zion? Absolutely not. They're getting more in Moab. So being able to share that and push that and.
We do promotions too, like our summer sizzle promotions we do in the summertime. Once we put that out, people start looking.
So your
Yeah.
pace picks
Added
up during the
value.
promotion. Cool.
And that,
Cool.
the Christmas in July, that's another very popular hotel strategy. So you start, but it is that value, and it is the drive market that we're talking about that is responsive to that as well. So, and typically, July, August, that's when we see our international traveler, which that's obviously going to be minimal for this year. So we're really heavily dependent on that drive market, and they are coming from Salt Lake, ironically enough. They know that it's hot here, but they know, hey, I usually can't afford to stay there, and I certainly don't want to stay I'm not camping there this time of year because it is hot. My hotel has air conditioning. So there is opportunity there. And so we can do a direct track. We know that they are coming from the mountains, even though we're like, why would they do that? But they are.
I mean, Salt Lake, how many people actually experience the mountains? A couple percent
Right.
of the entire city,
Right.
like
Yeah.
everyone lives in the valley.
The one percenters that have a cabin.
Exactly.
In the essence of time, just we've got a few more things to get through, so we have that passed, so let's move on to, Leslie, you're still with us? Okay, we are now gonna move on to item number 7, which Utah Office of Tourism Fiscal Year 2027 International Opt-in Marketing Programs.
36.
Excuse me?
Can we do number?
Oh, sorry, we didn't do the cooperative grant, sorry about that, Leslie. Yes, we're gonna review the 2026-27 Utah Office of Cooperative Marketing Grant proposal that Leslie has put together, or Matt and Media has put together for us.
Mick, do you want to tee this up, or Micah, just to kind of kick off?
Yeah, no, we're all pretty
I
aware.
mean, I could say, you know, we apply to the state grant every year. It's a 50% marketing match.
Yeah.
Matt had helped us put together our application last year, which was mostly digital marketing. We're running that now. This year, you know, we've met with officers of the selection committee and looked at the program a little closer, and we have heard that they like some creative projects. So we've come up with 3 sort of creative projects that fit or partnerships with surrounding counties, and some film tourism, and then the rest of the spend will be what we've done previously, which is more of a traditional digital buy.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So just a quick summary around those efforts that Mick is talking about. So one effort, a partnership with San Juan County, really focused on the Milky Way Highway, dark sky efforts. We have another one that we want to focus on for 2027 about film tourism, really being able to capture, pull in some of that attention around some of the film tourism pieces that I know the state just talked about. We're also looking at a partnership with Washington County around international marketing. And then that last piece is really, you know, kind of that, call it tried and true. We know when we're applying for these funds for the state, a lot of how they're determining that is based on how we're able to show return on investment, return on ad spend. And so to break all of those down a little bit more. So this Milky Way or dark sky effort is really going to be a shared opportunity. So within that, we'll have shared assets. We want to make sure there's a map, itinerary, making sure this is tangible. From an audience standpoint, we'll continue to focus on kind of our main audiences, but we'll also start to lean more heavily into families as well as astrotourism. And so from the actual media channels or the tactics that we'll use for this, we will be utilizing Meta, which I know we talked a little bit about earlier. We'll also have some out of home that will mostly be digital out of home. We'll also try to integrate some video. This is really asset dependent on what they have, what we have, to make sure it's a strong enough video. And then we'll also look at integrating some content within that. And so the interesting thing about this opportunity is they need to make sure that they have San Juan County information on their website. And then we also need to make sure that we have information on our website. But there'll be some good opportunities for us within those media tactics to elevate some unique content outside of both our channels to kind of meet people where they are within certain channels or their own browsing. So a couple different pieces on that infrastructure side. So this is one of the opportunities that we are chasing and recommending. And then with that, of course, we'll look for the state to be able to match these funds as well. So, and I believe that time frame.
And Leslie, I'll just note that Allison Yamamoto Sparks, who's the tourism director for San Juan County, came to us saying that she wanted to promote this idea of the Milky Way Highway. Her businesses saw that if you drove south of the state from Moab down through Monticello and Bluff, that if we coined some sort of term, that we could be recognized for our dark skies. And so we said, yes, we want to partner with you. You know, they'll be developing an ad campaign on their end, and we'll have some shared assets to getting a reputation for this idea, which is the Milky Way Highway. This speaks to our own strategic goals, which is we were pleasant or we were surprised or pleased to find out that the Milky Way is brightest in July and August. So when we are targeting visitors and pushing dark sky visitation, that's kind of a draw to come and see the Milky Way at its brightest. In addition to visiting
There's a meteor
When
shower
there's-
in August also. That's kind of a
Perfect.
cool thing, and the state is really leaning into
This-
the whole dark sky. Way to play to your audience there, Leslie. Good job. And
I like those audiences, right?
I would suggest that the winter months are also excellent for dark sky
Yeah.
viewing.
Yeah,
And we could sure use the business in the
Yeah.
winter months.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah, piggyback. Smart
The
thought.
next, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just enthusiastic. Go ahead.
Great. And then we'll focus on some film tourism storytelling. So we've been having more and more discussions about, what could a bigger kind of larger effort to support film tourism, but also like how do we kind of marry that with the things that we're doing from a leisure standpoint. So we really want to, piggyback on, some really great films that are coming out next year and be able to connect the places that they're seeing within the films to places that they get to and have the opportunity to visit. So I think this one is going to be we'll have some really great tactics, but I also think there's some fun kind of collaborative efforts that we'll be able to do, across the team as well. So we're looking at meta support. We're also looking at potentially doing a South by Southwest activation. Within that, being able to integrate the PR team, being able to do some active pitching there. We also want to focus on some print publications to bring this to life, and we'll have some programmatic. And so, again, that will be more of that kind of connected TV. It can be more of the kind of banner ads, those different pieces like that. What we're really trying to do here is just figure out what are the assets and the best assets that we have to support this. So we have reached out to the state office to see if there are assets that we can utilize, but we're also talking about kind of what's our plan B to make sure that we have footage of these different places that they're going to see within the film. So we really want to capture or, like I said, piggyback on some really great films that are going to bring some attention to the area next year. And again, make sure we're more integrated across all of the things that are happening at Discover Moab.
I don't remember the stat in Virginia's presentation because it's so big, I almost can't believe it. It's like a third or 49% of people come to Utah because they saw it in a movie or on TV.
Yeah, 39%.
39%.
39. I mean, that's huge. So this effort is to go after that. These two movies were filmed here last year, Godzilla and Wild Horse 9. I've heard that Godzilla is going to walk down Main Street. Brian saw it being filmed. And let's hope the garage code sign might be in the shot and maybe we'll start to get some recognition that that's Moab. We're also told that King Kong descends off of Dead Horse Point. So we get some great imagery there. And just to associate a visit to Moab with that imagery is kind of the idea around
And
it.
Utah has the campaign, it's real, like it's real, like that they're basically capitalizing on, this is a real place, it's not CGI.
It's not sensitive, right? And then the Wild Horse 9 film is more of a prestige film, but Martin McDonough is a Oscar-winning director. It has an all-star cast, including Parker Posey, who everybody loves. And we hope it wins an Oscar, because if it wins an Oscar and Moab looks beautiful, that's a lot of free marketing, but we're gonna have to tell the story that the place that it was filmed was Moab. So it's the idea behind this.
Was that last year?
Yeah.
We're also looking at another collaborative effort here with Washington County. So focused on America Unlimited and the America Journal. This is really, a sales partnership to be able to do some additional expansion for our international efforts. This is really a focused effort to, try to collaborate on the sales standpoint and also use this as an opportunity to then, try and push additional tour operator involvement in Germany to be able to push more international visitation. So, Mick, I know you've had a lot of conversations. I don't know if you want to add something about this. This has been something we've been talking about for a while, so we're excited to start to go down this avenue.
Yes. So this was also proposed to us by Joyce Kelly in Washington County or Greater Zion. We go to a lot of trade shows with Joyce. She's a stalwart in the tourism industry. And she said, let's partner on an itinerary to promote international tourism. So again, we said, yes, we want to work with Joyce and we want to get in on this opportunity. But it also really speaks to our own strategic goals. As you mentioned, international visits in July and August. So trade shows and working with tour operators to drive visitation from international visitors will help with that strategic goal. What else was I going to say? International
IPW is coming up.
IPW. So if we go to IPW or we go to ITB, these are the sorts of conversations we had. I know what I was gonna say. But this is a pretty low funnel tactic. So this is an advertising campaign in partnership with 2 tour operators that actually sell trips. So we place these ads, but we can also get real statistics and data on how many trips they sell. And so they're right at the bottom of the funnel, making that conversion, sending Germans to Moab. And that's just a way to, when we talk about, we should advertise in Germany, but so is Uber Eats, if we want to put ads all over Berlin, that's a pretty high funnel tactic. This is a lower funnel tactic with a direct relationship to send visitors here, that I think we can get more out of our investment.
Yeah, and the double collaboration there, right? Like that we're going in there as a united front, but then also hopefully being able to get additional support from the state makes it a real smart move also.
Howard.
Not to be biased, but I would suggest that United Kingdom is a very strong market for us, particularly because we have a train and they love their trains. That's something St. George doesn't have. That gives us a unique advantage over other things. And I just want us to not exclude other European nations that have a potential of coming here.
Yeah, and then with that too, I know Mick will talk about some of the other international efforts that they want to use with the state, but we do have a separate international budget that we have going on as well. So this is just that co-op piece, but yes, all good things for us to note. Okay, perfect. And then this last one, I think, is probably what you would anticipate and expect. So this is really focused on our leisure and our return on ad spend, return on investment. So this is reinforcing what we've been doing, but also with this coming out in 2027, it's going to be a really good opportunity for us to push some bottom of the funnel opportunities around the new brand, which I think will be really exciting. And so right now we're looking at Expedia. We're also talking about some additional connected TV programmatic. Out of home, I think there's some really good legs to stand on here with the brand direction, and then diving further into a different kind of United Airlines partnership, and that is with anticipating changes coming in the future around flight. So this feels like a really good way to bring in that data. Again, we know that the state is really looking at like, what is your return on investment? What is this specifically allocated, or what's the resulting for room nights, being able to connect all of those pieces. And this is, a really strong opportunity for us and a good piece of the budget. So those are the different pieces we have. So if they're, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Howard.
Last month, I inquired as to where the state of Utah was going to be doing its new advertising next year. Did we get any feedback on that as far as targeting our strategy towards where the state's advertising? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is a suggestion for next year. It's Moab's 125th anniversary next year, and I think that is something that could be really promoted to help drive people coming to Moab. The town was founded in 1902. Next year's 2027. That's 125 years. So I think that is something else that should be added to the mix, maybe out of the paradigm, but something to consider.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is. Marketers love stuff like this.
Yeah.
Well, I think to answer our first question, you're coordinating almost all the time with USC.
Yes.
Yeah.
They present this at their board meeting. We certainly don't have access to like all of their data, but we. We're domestic?
The state of Utah is targeting its marketing for next year, because we used to use that as a
We have like
strategy.
high level understanding.
Pardon me?
We have a high level understanding. Like I said, it's presented at their board meeting. We understand their audiences and where they target. We could ask for more, we could ask for more.
Collaborative,
Yeah.
we're in the same team,
Yeah,
team tourism.
but we get a high level presentation.
I mean, not to discount what you're doing, I think it's marvelous, but in the past, we did utilize watching where the state was targeting our marketing, specifically markets. And we would just jump in and, follow in, because basically you're getting the state doing a lot of advertising. And they say, well, come to Grand County, because they're really pushing for the whole state.
That's kind of what the next item in the agenda
Okay.
is.
This is just the
international.
co-op.
Yeah.
We're just talking co-op here, right?
It's kind of it's part of the co-op though.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
ask a question? What was the, do you remember what our award was for 2025, 2026?
146,
146, and what's our ask for this year?
215.
215.
Thanks.
Nice, good job.
Good job.
215, we were kind of we were in the second class of counties that, I think it was Kanab, us, Bernal, so we got 146, Salt Lake, Park City, Washington County, San Juan County, all got the max 215.
Yeah.
So we can shoot for the max. I'm a competitive person. But the whole grant, it used to be 250, they brought it down to 215. Now they've set the max at 215, and we'll see.
Well, I like the direction myself. I think that you guys are using the dark skies is something
The
that
dark
you
skies,
guys
smart.
lean into, right? Film tourism, that's something that you'll see on just about every one of their slides. Plus that idea that we're actually going in with other counties. I think that's super
Collaboration.
appropriate for a state grant, right? Like that's the whole idea of a co-op. It's not just advertising yourself, it's more of a region that we're advertising. So I think we got a good chance of getting some money.
It's also great to be ahead of the game. Like we tend to always be like trying to get it in last minute and always getting these approvals last minute. It's really nice to be working ahead of the game. So yes.
And it seems like an economic opportunity also, because it seems like that's a little bit underserved, that dark sky. There are a few businesses doing that, but it seems like there's opportunity there. For me.
Especially if we are pushing our guided outfitters.
Right.
Overnight camping trips.
Right.
That, those are down quite a bit all throughout town.
Well,
So-
overnight river trips, I mean, just add that little element to your advertising that we're gonna look at the dark sky.
In the essence of time again, I'm just gonna, if there's, Leslie, if you wanna finish up so we can.
Just have one more comment, just
What's
just quickly,
Yeah.
just that collaboration with Washington County, the mountain biking situation. Have you considered talking to Sevier County and Richfield, all of their mountain biking, because
Both of those opportunities were brought to us, and we said yes, but we could
yeah,
go the other way.
well, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking like Richfield is also like a huge mountain biking. They've got tons of trails. Everyone's all stoked about Richfield, and it's right on the way from Washington to Moab.
Okay.
So as far as itinerary goes, it's like, yeah, start in Washington County and Moab.
Is it cooler in July in Sevier?
Just just adding on, just collaboration, so.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
There's a motion for this one.
Is there anything else you need to?
No,
say?
just letting you guys aware of the timeline, right? And so presenting here, and then we'll be working on our draft for what we'll submit. Applications are due the 10th, and then we're reserving the end of July, where they'll have those in-person co-op interviews with the announcements, the awards, August 14th.
And assuming approval today, it would go to the commission.
I don't think this one needs to go to the commission. We budgeted for it. Yeah, we just wanted to share what we were gonna apply.
Okay, there is a recommended motion with this, if anybody would like to,
I'll make a motion.
yeah, Laurie, what is your motion?
I move to approve the 2026-2027 Utah Office of Tourism Cooperative Marketing Grant Proposal.
There is a motion on the floor. Is there a second? There is a second from Cora. Any discussion on this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that was unanimous with Jason Taylor saying otherwise as well. And so that's great. Really exciting. And I think that's the end of Leslie, you presenting. You are free.
Okay, so excited for you guys not to look at my face anymore on that screen. So thank you. So much of me.
Again, thank you for all the work you guys have been doing, and just appreciate your taking part in all of the branding and logo development as well. It's just been a true blessing to work with you guys. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
One team. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great. Item number 7. Now we can go into that one. Utah Office of Tourism Fiscal Year 2027 International Opt-in Marketing Programs. Now, Mick, we did put these up for you guys to review in advance, so hopefully you guys had a chance to look at them. Some of those were very detailed in terms of each country. But there was a very good executive summary that basically outlined why this is a good thing, because this is we're again playing along with the Utah Office of Tourism, and it is a fantastic opportunity for us. Yes, Howard.
I'll make a motion to approve $275,000 for the Utah Office of Tourism fiscal year 2027 International Opt-in Marketing Program.
Okay, there is a motion for the approval of this. Is there a second motion on the floor? Second. There was a second from Alex. Any
Do you
discussion?
want to discuss any of this or?
Yeah,
I was willing to present, but
well, I would like for you to,
Yes,
should we just give a little bit, just, we've read the executive summary, but just give us why this is
Yeah.
important and.
I wrote the executive summary just because it's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to read it, just let us know, let the public know why this is a great thing.
Yeah, I spent Sunday going through all these spreadsheets and looking at all the tactics that they were proposing so that I can get this ready for you guys. And last year we bought into the full suite tactics. And I would recommend that we do it again. Howard agrees. And that's just because of what Wendell was saying. The state spends $2.4 million to engage in market reps. So in these 9 markets that I have listed in the breakdown, these are people in these countries who are working to send people to Utah, and if we opt into these things, to Moab. They spend an additional $300,000 in campaigns. So these campaigns are going to happen whether we buy in or we don't. But this opportunity is for us to get in on those stories. So they're happening, and if we don't say yes, they're not going to say Moab. I didn't count the number of opportunities, but there have to be over 50. Like I said, I recommend that we opt into all of them. They come to us in pieces. So if it's a marketing campaign or an opportunity to put ads on bikes, they'll send us the creative and we approve it. So we also have an opportunity to shape the messaging. So with the new branding project, we received this over time, and they had really been using a lot of what they understood Moab to be, historical branding messages and things that they've been putting into the market over the years. And we went with that, but we'll have the opportunity to shape that further. So that's like longer lengths of stay, dispersing visitation beyond arches, visiting in July and August, stargazing. All those things are things that we can kind of put into each of these individual tactics. So I could talk about this.
But also full transparency too, you are requesting to pull funds from the reserve fund to make up the gap in what was budgeted.
Yes, so we budgeted, and this is in the summary, $103,650, just because we assumed that it would be relatively close to what we did last year. But this is totaling to $125,000, and there are a few additional tactics that could add up to as much as $135,000. So that recommended motion is up to $135,000 to cover those expenses. And just since we haven't budgeted for it, I added that piece to pull from the reserve, that the remaining balance would be pulled from that $4.3 million reserve.
When you do your reverse missions, don't you typically entertain folks here?
Yeah.
And if you do, I mean, this may be cart before the horse. I'm fascinated, what does China want to do besides the park?
China's new, newer to our office. We've really focused on Europe. The state, like I said, still invests in China. They did a mission in market this year. I communicated to them that we wanted to hear a lot about that market and how they want to travel. Almost stereotypically, we think of it as bus tours. And I said, if we get a bunch of buses coming through Moab, these people are gonna kill me. So, you know, if there's maybe a better,
Yeah.
a better way to describe it is
They come in the way
sustainable for us. Like, can we sustain that kind of visitation? So I tasked them with, saying, can we focus on FIT travelers, people that are self-guided and this sort of thing? And they said, absolutely. They went in market and they really know that we're focused on that sort of segment.
Nice.
Whereas somewhere like Bryce Canyon, they're really set up to take
Do
a lot of
buses.
bus
Sure.
tours.
Sure.
And so they know that about us. Again, a reason for us to invest in this is because we can shape it. If they're doing this regardless,
It
right?
happens to us.
So it's kind of a low investment considering the scale.
Nice.
And if we really want to focus on particular tour operators that we want the state to invest in, this is our opportunity to do that. They will have a reverse mission next year. These reverse missions are new to this program. China, France, and UK are reverse missions. Where the state goes in market, that's considered a mission. They're starting to invite tour operators to the destination, so they'll travel through the state, and then we have the opportunity to host them. One thing I've noted on the forms, which are included online, is I want people to stay longer. They come and they stay for a day, and then they keep going on this whirlwind tour.
Yeah.
And so, if they don't experience a longer trip, they might not sell a longer trip.
Right.
So while it might be more expensive for us to host somebody for 2 or 3 nights, I think it'd be worth it, because if we plant that seed and we show people what there is to do beyond the parks, and they have a little bit more time to go to multiple restaurants or see multiple points of interest, like I said, they'll sell that. So we'll see if the state takes us up on it. I noted it on the form that if we do host a reverse mission, we want people to stay for 2 nights or sometimes 3 nights.
Any other discussion? There is a motion on the floor.
Can we restate the motion?
What's that?
Can we restate the motion?
Well, the motion, no, I think,
I don't mean to jump in.
yeah. So, well, the motion that's on the floor is to approve the $135,000 for Utah tourism fiscal year 2027 international opt-in marketing programs. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Item number 8, basically, we're postponing this because it's actually being actioned, without my knowledge. Ali and I were talking in one of our last meetings how we would love to come up with a toolkit for businesses where there's a lot of information online, but sometimes a little print thing that shows where we're advertising, how we're advertising, what the advertising schedule looks like, as well as all the events and everything together with some tips on, is your website up to date, those type of things. We just think it would be a great thing for local businesses, but it's already actually in the remit of Camp Forest tourists, so we postpone that discussion for now. The next item, Nick, if you'd like to address item number 9, letter of support for grant for Friends of Arches and Canyonlands Parks from the Utah Department of Outdoor Recreation.
Yeah. So letters of support are new to me, with the whole idea of them. And just to let the board know that requests will come to our office for a letter of support for a grant or a project. We might get one from the city or a nonprofit. There is a grant upcoming for the Utah Department of Outdoor Recreation, and everyone's sort of scrambling to get their grant together and then get letters of support. So I attached an example from the Friends of Arches and Canyonlands Parks, and I just wanted to let the board know my process or the county's process for approving these letters. I've sent it to Commission admin, and they send it to the commission, and the commission will decide if they want to sign the letter of support and then give some action. Either they sign it, commission admin signs it, if they want me to sign it, they can. So we got this letter. I followed that process. We've also talked about making this a little bit more formal. There isn't a formal process for letters of support in the county, but it seems like it'd be helpful if there were one. It could address things like timing, like how can we bring this around in 3 days? So how long do we need? And then what sorts of things do we say? I think a lot of people put in details. Cora and I were talking earlier about the poison spider. I think it was a national trail recognition. And I can vouch for an organization and say, they're a good partner and I recognize them as legitimate. But to really weigh in on the specifics of a project like ditch water for Swanee Park I find difficult to put my name on, because I know nothing about ditch water. So we're addressing those things, but just wanted to make the board aware that these things pop up. They seem important to the grant process, so I don't want to brush that aside, but we need to come up with a process that we can put our name in sense.
We were asked to sign a letter recently that talked about the overall health and well-being that certain projects were gonna cause, with lots of medical statistics that I find that would be maybe a little out of our scope.
Right. So we'll address it, but just wanted to let you guys know.
It's about creating good process, because a lot of these things, there's due diligence where we're asked to support something that unless you do a lot of, and we need this by Friday. And so there's not enough
Right,
time for
the
the board
turnaround.
to actually look into these things. So we're looking at getting a better process for that. Thank you, Mick.
Just one
yeah.
quick thing. So after this, and there was one other that came up to us. I have a comm admin is starting to work on that policy. And so I think one of the questions that I would have for you is would you expect, so the Department of, the DOR has, outdoor recreation has put it out now that they're asking for the tourism board director on there, which is, I think it was new starting this year. So would you guys expect those letters to come to you for discussion as well,
No,
or just straight to the commission? Because I mean, it has left it as a little bit of a gray area right there. Are they asking for the board? Are they asking for the director? Are they asking for the commission to then talk with the director? There's a little bit of a gray area there.
do you know the
As we-
source of the funds for the deal?
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one on the division route, right? But it's just, and when Nick was talking about the timing of that, right? We want to make sure that these folks understand, like, hey, we plan to have this go, I mean, if I'm gonna bring something forward, I know that I'm gonna have to bring it to the travel council here, right? And then from the travel council, it'll go back up to the commission. So I think it's just really letting the public know what that process looks like, so that they can plan, and then just letting folks know that, because there's projects that come up to us and we're like, wow, we really support this project, but like, Wendell had said, we can't do any due diligence or actually look at their grant application or any of that stuff. It's really hard to support something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got one that the application was very clear that what they were applying for did not meet the guidelines of the application they were
Correct.
applying for. So
Yeah.
it's, unless you do that, take that time to go through the actual the segment of that application.
I think the source of the funds is when you register your UTV every year, there's a big bucket of
yeah.
money
That
that
sounds right, yeah.
gets distributed.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little out of the scope because there are lots of committees that has to go through, and I personally.
To Brian's question, when we got, it said tourism office or land manager or something else. So I sort of felt like maybe we would weigh in if it was on county property or something, but this particular one is for Arches National Park. If it's an or situation, why wouldn't you have Arches support you? You're gonna be making improvements on their property, so that's a discrete example, but I think all of these questions come up in deciding how to approach these things, and I don't know that we can decide how to deal with it today, but I think we should address it, make a policy. It could just be an FYI to the board that, I could send it to you all via email. Or if you like, we can build in a time frame where it needs to be on the agenda and you need to vote on it.
Let's coordinate commission, you, me, and then Roy, and about how what that process might look like, and where we feel it's important for to weigh in and not.
The feeling that if you don't approve, that people miss the opportunity, I think is unfair.
Yeah,
No, if we say no today because we need a minute to read the bill, then that means you miss out. That doesn't seem like smart coordination. So it seems like that we need a little bit of turnaround time.
How does that saying go? A lack of planning on your part?
Does not constitute a crisis on my part.
all right, next item on the agenda, Arches Shuttle, Commissioner Martinez.
Yeah, thanks.
Netta?
Yeah, so we've been working with the city of Moab. the Department of the Interior and Arches National Park and the state of Utah, trying to put together a package to bring a shuttle here to Grand County that would take folks into Arches National Park and then bring them back. As we're, go ahead.
From the city?
From the city. So the idea is we're trying to solve a couple of problems. I think that, you know, from the county's perspective, we're trying to solve the congestion problem on Main Street, both downtown at Highway 191 when things back up. And then in the park, we're trying to relieve congestion inside of the park. So those are the three big challenges that we have right there. As we're putting this together, I'm coming to you guys to see if you would recommend using mitigation funds, TRT mitigation funds, to help support the shuttle. Leave it open for questions.
Can I ask some questions about the shuttle? I mean, are we proposing just to take a shuttle to the entrance? Or is it gonna also have spokes within the park? Cause I don't know if you get people to the visitor center, how on earth are they gonna get up into the park? If, you know, they're not gonna, is that a plan to have a spoke system?
Yeah, well, we're not exactly sure what the system will look like, but it would be a park system.
Okay.
So it would be a combination, and that's why we're looking for,
It's like public trans for the park.
it is it's public transportation for the park and for Grand County. One of well, I don't want to promise anything until it's all in. The main request right now is, as we're putting this together, is does this board recommend being able to use TRT mitigation funds, which is an allowable use under the new HB 456, to support a shuttle system?
Do you, go ahead, sorry.
I'll make a motion to recommend using TRT mitigation funds for an Arches shuttle.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion is, there is a motion on the floor from Howard to recommend the use of TRT mitigation funds for the Arches shuttle. Lori has seconded, and time for discussion on that.
I have a question.
Yes. Jason.
Okay, so Brian, is it supporting it 100% or just portion along with like trying to get hotspot funding, or just, you know, like a portion of it?
No, it would not be supporting it 100%.
Okay, that would be
Yeah, and we should have some numbers worked out after Friday. And you know, with this board's recommendation, we will be going to the commission and have those numbers a little bit firmed out and be able to bring that to the public.
Do you foresee this being a contracted entity or under the management of the Department of Interior National Park Service, or under the city, like Moab Area Transit? How do you foresee that?
We're in the county.
Huh?
We're even up, we're in the.
So
Right. I
right
don't want
now
to
with
spend a novel.
Yeah, so the county is acting as an expedience for this, right? So contracting for the federal government does take a long time to
I'm
get
aware.
something like that together. So what the contract would look like is, as of right now, a cooperative management agreement between Grand County and the National Park Service. And then Grand County would then go and contract that service out.
So if there would be a request for proposal process for the shuttle company.
So
And
I
then
don't have.
where do you foresee parking these vehicles? Like, what's that economic impact?
Parking.
Or sorry, the shuttle buses themselves.
That would be part of the contract, so the shuttle company would have to take care of the maintenance, the storage, the HR, all of that with these vehicles. So they wouldn't be, it's not Grand County that owns these vehicles and then does this. Grand County would contract this entire service out. And so what we're looking at as of right now is a pilot, right? So we're trying to gather data on, you know, what type of ridership, what type of user this benefits, how this route really looks. But there's a lot of interest from the state Just candidly, so Friday, I'm heading up to the state for UDOT hotspot funding. And we're gonna go present to them. I think that there's a lot of interest in supporting this. We also have matching funds right now looking like coming from the Centennial Fund. Right now on the federal government. So question of funding, I think we're almost there.
And is this a one-time request?
Yes, this is a one-time request. However, moving into 27, 28, and then 28, 29. This the second that we start the shuttle system up or this pilot up, we'll be starting to look for those funding options right there for those.
Howard?
I'd just like to say that about 10 years ago, before the time venture was even introduced, this board sat and suggested that we have a shuttle service for archers, and there was a universal support across the community for that. However, at the time, the federal government or the National Park Service dutifully told us that there wasn't any funding available from them at that time. And, that the conversation drifted and eventually had timed entry. I'd like to say this is absolutely fantastic. This is the opportunity we've been seeking. We want to be empowered. If we have mitigation funds that we can provide, if the state can get involved and help out, I think this is brilliant. And I think this might solve a lot of the issues. And for the public record, we've been crying for a shuttle service for decades now. So let's work together as a county, as a city, as a state, and a federal government and make it happen.
Any other discussion on this?
The timeline for the pilot program.
If everything goes right, we're looking at, this is gonna take a little bit of time to get the contracting done. If everything goes right, we're looking at September of this year. And so, yeah, I know. Yeah. So what we're looking at right now I know it's kind of exciting. Is a September, October, and then being able to move into March, April, May, June. Is kind of what we're looking at for that. So have like a split shuttle season with them. And it is an optional voluntary shuttle.
Do you have an idea of how the logistics will work in the park? Like how many, was it like one shuttle that people will drive in through the park and around and leave? Or there's multiple shuttles a day where they can get dropped off and then picked up somewhere else?
And so right now we're working with headway times and pricing on units. And, there's a lot of little different variables that we can do to try to move things along. One of the things that we are looking for on this, for this company is one, the ability to use technology. And I know that there's a lot of other shuttle companies or national park shuttles that are actually looking at what we're able to do, just because we're coming in at a time when we can use technology to be better, more efficient with our shuttles. So the technology that we're looking in on this is also a big piece.
And the park understands that they might need some infrastructure to make these things, the shuttle happen.
Possibly, right now, the shuttle system that we're talking about would require very little infrastructure inside. So, we're looking at using something similar to the Moab area transit vans, moving in and out. So you're not looking at giant buses pulling in and out of any of the parking slots. We would also be able to have, be able to use the different entrance lane to move folks into the park quicker. And then we're looking at the idea of using an underutilized parking lot that does already have some infrastructure set up. If we were going to be going from hub and spoke, which would be Panorama Point. So what you would have is you would have a trunk route that would basically go and have a couple of stops in Moab. And then go from Moab up to the visitor center for a stop, go up to Panorama Point, drop folks off, and then you would have a C route that goes Delicate Arch, Panorama Point, Windows. And then it runs a C like this. So that's one idea. And then the second idea would be to just run a single line system.
So do people pay for the ride?
Right now, no.
So fully free ride? From besides.
Public transportation for in and out of the park.
There's a lot of people I know, so the restaurant, they, on the point and clickers, they literally want to see an arch. Like they want to go into arches, they want to take a picture of a few arches, to say, they literally want to do their Instagram. Like I've seen arches, I've done it, and then leave, and I think that's a great way for them, to basically like go to the hotspots without having to, it's kind of pre-selected for them. And then it doesn't preclude anybody from getting their own personal tour still. They can still drive in themselves, they can still do their own, get somebody to give them a tour. So yeah, I think it's great.
Visitation at the park in March and April seems pretty strong. I'm glad people are coming back.
Yeah.
And it's a good opportunity, not just for the folks who see a line at the park and are dissuaded and want to ride the shuttle because it's easier to get in, right? It's also better for the folks who are in the park. Whether you're in the park on a private trip, or even if you're a tour guide, right? Because we've taken, there's some of that congestion will be taken out of those parking spaces, right? That have, every vehicle that goes in is four vehicles that are, every shuttle van that goes in is four vehicles that's not inside the park.
Really quickly, everybody, it is 5 minutes after 5, so to make sure everybody is okay to stay a few minutes longer.
have to head out.
Yeah.
Do we need to vote on?
I need to
There
vote as well.
motion on the floor. Is there another discussion, Jason?
Nope,
Please
I need to leave as well. Get ready.
Gotta vote. We vote?
Yeah, okay, so there is a motion on the floor. Any more discussion? There has been a second, so the motion is to recommend the use of TRT mitigation funds for the Arches shuttle. All those in favor?
Aye.
So we have,
I'm abstaining.
we have one abstention from Cora. Motion passes. Thank you, Jason and Rebecca.
Yep.
I know you both have to leave. And we're almost finished. So, next, just with regard to data, this is some reporting that Gabe has been providing to us, but Nick has been working very diligently on a very, slick, way to be presenting data in a way that we can all comprehend and see the highlights, look at the reserve fund balance. We've talked about how we want the data to be, more, I don't know, vibrant as well, so that we can see highlights and see where we're trending better. And so right now, you can see on TRT, just if you want to look at it, make it up, I don't even talk to it, but we are working. I know we said we've been working on it for a while, but we're still working on it. Nick has presented some really good stuff, so it's coming. Also, we had a data meeting with Madden last week, and the dashboard was great. It'll be a lot more clear for us and the public on where we stand with hotels, with DRT, with our, so yeah. Yes, Howard.
The numbers look decent. I would
Yeah.
say the restaurant tax is really concerning. If you look at year over year. It's down in both months. So that is an indicator of maybe what people are spending. They're not eating out. Maybe they're staying in hotels. So just that we have a focus on that the restaurants are part of the tourism equation too.
They were up in January and February, which was December and November.
Yeah,
December.
I'm looking at this year.
Yeah, so then if you go, yes, so that's in March and April rather
Just
than January,
not
February.
major.
Yeah, which I think is a we are seeing a lot of people at the city market and they're staying in short-term rentals and they are, not eating out as much potentially or eating less.
Remember, price factors into it as well.
As she said, the most popular hotel is one with a kitchenette. So, yeah.
Sorry, I missed that.
The most popular hotel that we have in our portfolio is the one with the kitchen.
And price factors in, so more expensive hotel room collects more tax. And if restaurant prices are more consistent, that won't shift.
Yeah.
It could reflect that pricing, but.
Is there any chance we can backtrack the months to actually, did you mention that? The months of the collection months, not the actual months.
We're trying to visualize.
Just confusing.
Yeah, we're working on that.
Yeah, so I can speak to that. I'm told that the industry standard for reporting on tax collection is to report it in the month that it's paid. And that is what's happening here. In this particular spreadsheet that we're looking at starts with March. The reporting that I'm putting together will reflect that industry standard, so it'll be January through December. And as you said, January will be taxes. But Howard, you should also have to factor in, it's not If you wanted to go 2 months back, that's actually also not accurate because people pay quarterly. Some people pay annually. Some people don't pay.
Yeah.
Some people pay delinquently. Some people pay monthly. And this is all when it's paid. So if you discount it,
When it's earned.
you get into all these other situations where you also have to like look at it with nuance. So it's industry standard to report the collection when it's paid. And we'll adjust our board packet to reflect January through December.
Explains a
The
lot.
last item on the agenda very quickly was the Who is Moab? I just want to recommend that everybody, if you haven't already, please watch them. Just because they are so well, have you guys seen them?
A couple.
They're really so well done, and my hat's off to Ally for the whole project, for getting that together, and I think that we need to consider looking at real time as a partner on maybe future projects because of the way they handled this project. And if there's time, if anybody wants to quickly do any board reports so that we can get out of here. I'm just gonna say, oh, go ahead. Yes, what were you?
Just the board report.
Okay, I'm just gonna say that, yeah, May, it was started off with a bang and it's now, seems like it's kind of trickling down a bit more. So, it's, there's a lot of political things going on. There's a lot going on in the market. So we just need to make sure that we keep our eye on the ball and, people think, oh, why are you advertising? People, it's full. It's like, well, people plan well in advance. So it's very cyclical. So we need to make sure that we're on top of things. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate some of
I'll
the
see you at 9:00.
information.
Can I just interrupt real quick and say I gotta go, because we gotta get ready for our
Chamber event.
chamber event at 98 at 5:30.
What's that?
Our chamber event at 98 at 5:30.
Thanks for the
Okay,
invitation.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we can do all of our board reports there.
There you go.
Alright, so I'll see you all there.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to reinforce what we're seeing at the hotels, and we are seeing that pace go on a decline right now year over year. So seeing what we're doing with some of those marketing dollars fully in the summer is matching right alongside the data for us.
All right, Ms. Data, I got a question for you quick. I know we're short on time. This year, May compared to last year, May. Seeing, I know it's early, but are you seeing any difference in the trend?
Where May is really flat line, which is about a 1% increase right now.
I'll take them flat.
Sorry.
Yes, thank you. So we have our event at 98 Center tonight at 5:30. Maggie, who's the editor for the Moab Sun, will be there. She's partnering with us to do some really cool things for our businesses. So I don't want to spoil all the surprise, but
What's
definitely
the event?
come
What is it? What is the event? It's.
at 98 Center.
No, what is it?
Chamber
Oh, just the
Lady
chamber. Okay.
Social, yeah. And we usually try and have an update like 15 minutes and then it's all networking for those. And then May is membership renewal month. So we're bringing on new members, renewing our current members, and really we have some stuff in the works, like partnerships, to really build the value for our chamber members and grow our economy. We have on Thursday, we have our nuclear energy engagement session. We have a interactive panel discussion that will be 5:30 at the Grand Center on Thursday. We'll have Curtis Wells, who's with the Utah Energy Council, Paul Christensen, who's with the Utah Fire Marshal's Office. He trains people to go in radioactive environments all over the world. He's very cool. I used to work with him when I did emergency management stuff for the county. We'll also have Tracy from the Utah Office of Energy Development and Hitmoth from Valor Atomics, who's the company that has the War 250, which is a nuclear reactor about the size of a Connex box that can power about 5,000 homes. So thinking about that in the context of the civilian world is pretty interesting. So please bring lots of questions to that. Our golf tournament was a lot of fun. We're just limited by the number of golf carts. So we had 104 golfers at that event. June we'll have, at USU, we have an event how to obtain funding for your business through either loans and grants. And then in July, we'll have Dax, who's with the School of Business. He also is an instructor with the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Business Program. Lots of stuff happening. And we also have another partnership that I'll talk more about next month. That I'm super stoked about. But that's somebody has already seen some spoilers, but that's all I have for now. Thank you, and I'm gonna run. See you there.
Howard, you talk. Just for the record, just in case you heard something on the radio, there was an oil truck failed to clear the main line sufficiently in time and our train struck it. We had to evacuate 303 guests from
I
the train.
had about 50 of them come to Sunset Grill that night.
And I would say that unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, fortunately, the FRA, which is the Federal Rail Authorities, for any train that comes off the tracks, they require the replacement of every wheel on that rail car. We had 8 cars come off the rails. So needless to say, we do have a train running this week, but it's half the capacity we had last week. The good news is we'll be back to full capacity next week, so.
So are you having to bump people at all?
303, is the record number of people we ever had on the train last week when this happened. And we have record numbers all the way through June. Our July sales are through the roof.
So
Um,
great, so great.
In this down world, and I would honestly say this wasn't part of the discussion today, but the Kenzie Gardner report didn't factor in that Rocky Mountaineer started operating these last 4 years. And another factor which really boosted our income was Horizons. I looked on AI what the economic impact was in the 2 counties each year for each thing. It was between 45 and $55 million a year. So I think those Office of Tourism stats are a bit conservative for the actual impact of the movie of that did, and that was a one-off. So I expect, also, by the way, there was a 25 to 30% increase in the number of hotel rooms made available between 2019 and 2023, just to kind of way back on the facts.
But your people were well, I talked to some of them who had.
They were fine. I
promotions
mean,
with
as
us.
best we could.
They were
They're all
actually
still very,
no drama.
yeah, no
They were
drama.
really,
The company,
Yeah.
honestly, I have to commend my employers of how exceptionally well they reacted and had all this training we do for these situations really played out, and it was,
I was
we rescued
impressed.
it.
I was very
And
impressed.
it could have been so much worse.
Mhm.
Thank you, everybody. It is now 5:18 and I call this meeting of the MTAB board to close, adjourned.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.